afternoon. It's the Pit Stop 2026 debut here of the show that talks about racing out there. NASCAR, IndyCar gets underway in March. Of course, we're right here in the middle of Daytona 500 week. Practice has been happening all morning in the Cup Series. Qualifying tonight here. We're recording this on a Wednesday here this week. We'll get to a regular schedule here after next week with the President's Day holiday coming up, but generally we do a show earlier in the week looking back at the racing weekend and a show later in the week looking ahead to the weekend coming up with all the news out there around NASCAR as well. And being our debut show, we're going to look into some of the off-season things that have happened, just as a refresher as well as we lead into what's going to happen this weekend in the NASCAR series here. All of them, Truck, ARCA, O'Reilly series now. Of course, the Cup Series as well. I'm Stephen McCollum, and I'll get you along with the ride. Throughout this season, we'll have, some guest hosts joining us as well to talk NASCAR as we get you going. And, folks, it's been going to be a long NASCAR season like it always is out there. I'm looking forward to IndyCar getting started. I'm looking forward to some of these new races happening around NASCAR as well, like San Diego, for instance. Of course, little differences this year. Coming into Phoenix, right? You're going to have the IndyCar racing with the NASCAR that weekend here coming up in March. It's going to be interesting times out there. We do the show here in Phoenix, Arizona. I know a lot of the races there on the East Coast and things to that effect. So we do times here based off of Phoenix time for all of our local listeners and watchers. For those of you joining us around the world, we appreciate it very much. Give us a follow at the Pit Stop Talk is where you can find us on X as well for the social media. Join us there. Hit the follow button. We do a podcast version of this show. Same show you're watching right now, just in podcast form. Any of your favorite podcasting systems at the Pit Stop Talk is where you can find it, or just type the Pit Stop with Steven. It should come right up for you as well. Google, Spotify, Apple, iHeart, all of your favorite systems. You can find the listening version of the show. Robot TV is where we put the show out on demand as well. We do a lot of work with them, but also something new since last year it had started. We have a production page there on YouTube of our show, The Pit Stop, of the show, The Main Event, that we produce here as well with me and 17-year veteran, NFL veteran Dale Hellestrey. The business show, McCollum on Business as well. The Real Matrix we produce here. We produce other shows that we don't do here. We produce them for other outlets and things. But for the shows we produce here that we have access to putting up there, but we have a YouTube channel now as well for the on-demand services as well, for those of you for free as well and want to see what we can do. Give the YouTube channel a follow as well, folks. And enough of the promotions. Reminding you guys who I am is Stephen McCollum, of course. Been a long-time racing fan. Done multiple shows, both on the radio, moved over here to this program, and done this show as well here with Robot TV and all the other outlets here for the last 3 seasons as of now. And, folks, the season started. It's going to be a fantastic year. Of course, playoff changes. We'll get into some of the off-season, the big off-season things that happened here as we go throughout the show and set you up here, of course, for the Daytona 500. As I said, we have one show this week in our debut. We're recording this here on Wednesday. Practice has happened this morning for the Cubs. Qualifying coming up tonight, 6:15 Phoenix time, 8:15 Eastern time coming up. And, normally, like I said, we do a show on Mondays, which looks back at the previous shows, and then Thursdays looking ahead to the weekend. Next week's going to be a little bit off as well because of the President's Day holiday. We're off on President's Day, so we'll get the pit stop in probably Wednesday again next week. Maybe combine the 2 episodes into one on Wednesday. Of course, looking back at Daytona, looking ahead to the weekend next week. And then we get settled in there after that into our double-week schedule coming up. But come along for the ride. I'd appreciate it. Let us know. Hit me up on X, of course. At the Pit Stop Talk is where you can find it. Hit me up. Let's have a discussion here around NASCAR. Appreciate you joining us. And let's get into here what happened over the offseason. Just some big things that happened, just as a refresher here, as well as we are here on our 2026 debut show here for the Pit Stop. So off-season notes that you know about, just a refresher, that lawsuit between 2311 Front Row Motorsports and NASCAR. Well, it went to trial. Lots of damage was done. Steve Phelps no longer with NASCAR now moving forward. A lot of drivers upset, a lot of teams upset. Well, it ultimately settled there in the court system. Everybody had to sign new charters. Everybody signed the new charters now moving forward. all's well that ends well, I guess. There's been some serious issues around NASCAR with this lawsuit, warts and all. Nobody escaped this thing. Now, as the season goes on, things are going to settle down a little bit and people will kind of forget about that big battle that happened, but it's just getting back into things to forget about that lawsuit that happened between the two teams as well. The other thing that's changed since we went off of air last year during our hiatus, well, and with the schedule this year, the Charlotte Roval is no more. All the Charlotte races are going to be on the oval this year as well. Coming up, that has been announced and changed, which I like. I prefer the oval over the Roval, especially when it comes to the playoff race. I much more prefer it on the oval, of course, than I do on the Roval for the playoff race. Regular season, if you want to do the Roval, fine. We'll see what happens there. Don't forget also the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series is now what used to be the Xfinity Series. I'm just calling it the O'Reilly Series. I'm not doing all that auto parts stuff and everything unless they're willing to pay me to do it. But it's going to be the O'Reilly Series for me as I move forward. That seems to be what everybody's kind of following on. That's a big change. You'll hear us reference that, of course, coming up as well. A new point system for the playoffs coming up. They got rid of win and you're in the playoffs. They got rid of resetting every 3 races. Back to the old school way, what made Jimmy Johnson a champion multiple years in a row. Yes, just get into the playoffs. You've got to be ranked in the top 16 to get in. Period. End of story. Doesn't matter if you win a race. Doesn't matter if you don't win a race. Just get into that 16th spot to get into the playoffs. And then the playoffs become every week. You get points to win your championship as you go through the playoffs now. Of course, also Phoenix is no longer the championship race this week. It's over there at Homestead, Miami. And I'm seeing reports now, I've heard through the grapevine, through sources out there, that Miami Homestead is favored to be the place for the championship race in 2027 as well. It was never meant to stay in Phoenix as long as it did. It was meant to move around every year, every couple years. COVID kind of changed things. So I expect it to stay in Miami Homestead for 2-3 years before it starts jumping around a little bit around the country for the championship and kind of change it up there. So Miami Homestead will be the championship race coming up. We'll get into a little bit of driver movement here as well, just to refresh your memory. But first, let's talk a little bit about the schedule. Refresh your memory on the schedule here. I know this is a small graphic here as we throw up the revised schedule. And by revised, I just mean they revised the Charlotte to the oval instead of the Roval out there. So now as that gets thrown up there for you, I know it's small, hard to read, of course. You got the Craftsman Truck Series on there. St. Petersburg, that's the big one here coming up on February 28th. They're racing that with the Indy cars coming up here out there at St. Petersburg. So Truck Series getting some action there as well on Fox. Don't forget, all Truck Series are on FS1. The 28th is going to be on Fox because of who they're racing with over there in St. Petersburg as well. Of course, Truck Series they are going to race in San Diego for that race on Coronado Island around the Navy base there. They will be involved in that race coming up as well in June with the other guys coming up for them. So I'll give you an idea, of course, what we're looking at on the Truck Series. Notable things on the O'Reilly Series. Well, it's just very similar, obviously, to the NASCAR Cup Series as well coming up. They're hitting Phoenix here on March 7th on Saturday. That will also be an Indy race here in Phoenix on the same track. So the race here for the Xfinity Series, 7:30 p.m. coming up on that Saturday to make a note before they head up to Las Vegas for them as well. There will be some bye weeks out there. Nashville, May 30th. And then there's some off time here as Pocono won't be until June 13th. So a week off there in that time frame for the O'Reilly Series as well. And then you'll get some more breaks coming up later on, of course. Echo Park will be July 11th. Well, they won't race at Indianapolis until July 25th. So some breaks there. And then they'll have some time off until August 8th, where they race at Iowa there for the O'Reilly Series as well. Then they have a couple of weeks off there until Daytona on Friday, August 28th at that time. So we got some breaks coming up here on that O'Reilly Series as well for them. Then the Cup Series, obviously, Clash is all done. Ryan Preece won the Clash here. Their Bowman Gray delayed due to the snowstorm, and I'm not going to lie to you. If you follow me at the Pit Stop Talk. Don't forget to do that. I kind of lost interest in the Clash in that race. Just cars banging, spinning out left and right. The small, small track, and just kind of lost interest in it as well. I'd rather see it go back to Daytona at this point, to be honest with you. But hey, they bought Bowman Gray. They want it done there. Ryan Preece won the Clash there. His first NASCAR race, even though it's technically an exhibition out there. Of course, we got the duels coming up. We'll talk more about that. That happens on Thursday of this Daytona week after qualifying here on Wednesday night as well. The big news here, as I said, Phoenix, March 8th for those of us here in this area. Las Vegas, March 15th. For them, before they go to Darlington there for March 22nd. And they're at COTA here, Circuit of the Americas there in Austin, Texas there on March 1st before coming to Phoenix as well. There's an off week coming up on April 5th for the Cup Series. So one break in action there. The other guys are rocking. The Rockingham is going to happen there for the O'Reilly Series and the Truck Series that weekend, but Cup will be off there on April 5th coming up. Oh, by the way, CW, still don't forget, is where the O'Reilly Series runs. Fox FS1 there for the Truck Series is where it goes. And then, the Cup Series moves around out there. The Fox Networks has the first half of the first quarter of the season as well. And they Fox goes all the way until the Charlotte race there on May 24th after that All-Star race there at Dover this year. Charlotte is the first race there for Prime as they get started with their 5 races. And then the last Prime race, San Diego, where all 3 series go for that road course there in the Coronado Islands there as well. Then it moves to TNT after that. Sonoma will be the first TNT race. They go back to Chicagoland here as well for TNT. Then they go Echo Park, which is Atlanta, if you forgot about that name change. TNT goes all the way until Indianapolis on July 26th. That'll be that last race for TNT. North Wilkesboro does fall into that TNT window as well. Then they're off on August 2nd here. It's an off week for them. And when they come back, they go to Iowa here, and that'll be on the USA Network. Of course, switches to NBC for the second last part of the season there. And most of those races are on USA until we get to kind of the end of the playoff race. It'll switch over to NBC at that time as well. So Iowa, Richmond, New Hampshire, Daytona, and then the playoffs begin with Darlington here coming up. And then obviously WWTR there in St. Louis is the second round of the playoffs. Like I said, no 3-year eliminated playoff race this year coming up. So just a quick overview of the racing schedule that we have coming up for you here for the 2026 season for NASCAR. We'll talk more IndyCar, of course, as we get closer to their season starting and follow F1 as well. I don't follow F1 as much as I probably would like to. It's just F1's built around money and also just the windows they race in. And just have a hard time getting up early to watch some of those races as well. In terms of drivers you want to pay attention to that move, Connor Zilic, don't forget, of course, the phenom. He was a 19-year-old. I'm not sure if he's turned 20 yet. In the Xfinity Series last year, moving up to the full-time ride in the Cup Series. Over with Trackhouse this year, full-time. Daniel Suarez moved out of Trackhouse and went and signed with Spire Motorsports coming up this year as well for that. Justin Haley left Spire Motorsports. He's going to be down in the Truck Series this year as well. It'll be interesting to see, does the Truck Series have dominating racing like they had last year? It's going to be fascinating to watch if they have that type of a situation. Obviously, Connor Zilic moving up to full-time in the Cup Series. Going to give somebody else a chance to do some winning there in the O'Reilly Series this year as well. SVG moves to the 97 car with Trackhouse moving forward. So make that mental note for those of you that love Van Gisbergen. And then Corey Heim has a 12-race schedule with 23-11 there in the Cup Series as well coming up. As well for him because Corey Heim obviously dominated his circuit last year there and getting an opportunity, 12 races to move up with 23-11 as well. So that's kind of the highlights of the offseason that we're looking at, just as a fresh reminder for you. We call it the offseason because we just don't do shows while they're all off. Things to that effect. News going into Daytona. Well, we know Brad Keselowski missed the Clash because he had surgery on his leg. Leading up to that Clash there. Didn't have, obviously has to get cleared. Well, he did his test, I believe, at Charlotte this week. was able to pass it. I saw him walking around Daytona 500 this morning there at Daytona. I saw him walking around with a cane, but he did the test, was cleared to race this weekend at the Daytona 500 for Brad Keselowski. So he is racing this weekend. We'll have to see how the cane, it's healed enough, obviously, to pass his testing, to get back into the car. It'd be interesting to see where he goes with here in this Daytona 500 as well. In the Truck Series, Cletus McFarland, he was cleared also to race this weekend in the Daytona 500, so he's making his debut in the Truck Series this weekend as well. So obviously there's a lot of other question marks, or not question marks, but things to pay attention to, some stories, right? Denny Hamlin, of course, unfortunately lost the championship last year after winning that race and dominating here in Phoenix. Kyle Larson ends up getting the win. And then, of course, in the offseason, he had that 2311 lawsuit that he was working through. And then, of course, the tragic, absolutely tragic house fire where he lost his dad in that. His mom's still recovering for it. Getting back into the racing things here with Daytona 500. And is that going to give him a little bit more focus? He did say also before the clash, he rebroke that shoulder that gave him problems a couple years ago. And he's not going to get it fixed. He's just going to go out there and race with it. And he said in the past that it's a very painful injury to deal with. Obviously, driving a car, hands up, with the shoulder issue that he has. So it's going to be a little side story to watch here. Does he rally this year? Does he use the personal tragedy stuff as inspiration to move forward into this year? And I think a lot of people are going to be rooting for Denny Hamlin with just the story, unfortunately, what he has gone through as well here in this off season for him. So look, folks, it's going to be a big racing year. We're going to do what we always do. What we do is, we do a review of the race before. Obviously, no racing before, so we just kind of capped up the important things that happened over the off season. And then in our second show of the week, which we're going to lump into here, we look ahead to the racing this weekend. So when we come back here on the Pit Stop, we're going to keep rolling here as well. We got a sellout. They've announced an official sellout of the Daytona 500. Practice is all concluded here this weekend. I'll get you updated on what happened on the track this morning. Of course, qualifying coming up tonight. You have about 6 teams, I believe it is, that are vying for those 4 open spots. Well, we'll have to see what happens tonight. If you don't get it tonight, well, you got a chance with the duels coming up. So we'll set the stage. And, of course, look ahead to this weekend's Daytona 500. Make my picks. Who's going to win in all 3 of the series as well at Daytona this weekend. So come on back, folks. Got a busy here part of the show looking ahead to this weekend. Come on back. I'm Stephen McCollum. Welcome to the 2026 debut of the Pit Stop. We're back here, debut episode of the 2026 season of the Pit Stop right here at Robat TV. We go on demand here. As I said, our schedule will settle down here, but this week, only a show on Wednesday because it's our debut show, getting ready for the Daytona 500. And next week, because of the President's Day holiday, Well, we'll probably only have one show next week as well, probably on Wednesday. And then after that, we settle down. And then early in the week on Mondays, we do a show that looks back at the racing weekend. And then, of course, we look ahead later in the week on Thursday with all the news of the week and what's happening leading into the racing on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday here, depending on when the Truck Series is racing here as well coming up. So that's kind of the schedule here as we go through the NASCAR season as well here. And we're excited to be back. Been chomping at the bit for this to get going. The Clash being delayed, we ruined our debut, right? We wanted to do a debut last week, and that Clash being delayed kind of pushed us off here to this week. But hey, we made it. We're back. Thank you for joining us as well. Don't forget, at the Pit Stop Talk on X is where you can find the social media. Give me a follow there, would you? And just get us out there into the zeitgeist. We don't do a good enough job of promoting that. Got to get better at it. Of course, like and subscribe to the free podcast system as well. Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeart. Even if you catch us on the visual forms, either at Robat TV or on our production YouTube page, still follow the podcast for us. Just gets it out there for the world to see as well for people looking for race-based content. And, of course, like and subscribe to the YouTube page of our production company. You can find the main event on there, McCollum on Business, the Pit Stop. And then abbreviated forms there of the Real Matrix as well. Real Matrix has been moved over to Rumble as a full-time performance side. Just a little bit easier. They allow things over there that YouTube is not too fond of for the Real Matrix. So the real full programming over at Rumble on the Real Matrix. You can find us anywhere, folks. Just help us get out there so people looking for this stuff can easily find us, and we'd appreciate it very much. Of course, we spent the first part of the show there just looking back at the important things that happened over the holiday weekend and or over the off season, I should say, as we head into this Daytona 500 weekend. And of course, Craftsman Truck Series gets underway this weekend. The O'Reilly Series now, the old Xfinity Series gets underway on Saturday in terms of their races. And then, of course, the Cup Series here coming up this year with a new racing playoff format. A new schedule as well with some exciting new races coming up here as well. So Daytona 500, the Super Bowl of racing, as they always say. I can tell you this, we're recording this on Wednesday, and I was watching, I was doing the main event earlier in McCollum on Business. I was kind of keeping my eyes on the qualifying out, or the practice out there. Practice number 1 for the Cup Series today. Qualifying is tonight at 6:15. We're going to find out 2 of those open teams that are going to get into the Daytona 500. But here for opening practice, it's the results are pretty simple here, right? Austin Cindric won as well, 187.402 in terms of his speed. Ross Chastain was second there at 186.931. Corey LaJoie, who is one of those open teams trying to earn a spot to race this weekend, heck of a practice run for him. 186.516 here for Corey LaJoie this morning. Now, it's single car qualifying tonight, as he gets out there. So he's going to have to find that speed to move on and qualify for this race. Bubba Wallace was coming up as well here in fourth, 186.842 for Bubba Wallace. And then Daniel Suarez, new team, Spire Motorsports for him, 185.589 for that. The slowest car on the tracks. I do like to look at the slowest cars, see how the slowest car kind of competes here. So the fastest speed there is 187.402. That's Austin Cindric. The slowest speed was Casey Mears, from what I can tell here, 179.547 miles per hour. Folks, imagine driving a car 179 miles per hour and finishing dead last in practice. Michael McDowell and Todd Gilliland did not actually practice. They got no speeds recorded for them out there as well. Most laps run during the 50-minute practice. Tyler Reddick and Jimmy Johnson, they both ran 20 laps here for practice, trying to get the cars dialed in, I guess, is what is happening there as well. Best 10 consecutive lap average out there. Eric Jones, 183.536 miles per hour. For Eric Jones. So single car runs, it's all in preparation for qualifying tonight, which is a single car run also, is what we're looking at coming forward. So you kind of see the speeds you're probably going to have to be at here tonight for qualifying as we go into this race as well. So the way this works here on Wednesday, now practice is done. Practice started 8 a.m. Phoenix time, 10 a.m. Eastern time. All completed, about 50 minutes of that done. Qualifying begins at 8:15 p.m. here on Wednesday night, 6:15 p.m. here in Phoenix time as well. FS1 is where you can catch it coming up for you later on today. So you're qualifying. The 36 charter teams automatically get into the Daytona 500. So they're already in there. Qualifying for them is just, get the speed up, where you're going to start, how you set up the duels, etc., which we'll talk about here in a minute as well. So 36 charter teams guaranteed spots into the Daytona 500. So there are 4 additional spots available for a total of 40 teams coming up here to race in the Daytona 500. I think there's 46 teams trying to get into this race as well. So you can see some teams are going to be, not able to qualify. So 4 additional spots are filled by those non-charter teams that get into this race, the open entries, if you will. Now, there is a caveat. Jimmy Johnson is utilizing his open exemption provisional. So Jimmy Johnson does not have to qualify. He is being allowed into this. So you're going to have 4 open teams plus Jimmy Johnson as well racing in this tournament. So Jimmy Johnson will be a part of this using that provisional coming up this weekend as well. So the 2 fastest open cars in single car qualifying, well, they're going to lock into the field. So you want to be 2 of the fastest open cars here tonight. So Corey LaJoie had a great practice run with that speed. Needs to be up there here tonight to qualify into this race as well. The other 2 spots that will be filled, well, it comes from the top open finisher in each dual qualifying race. And we'll talk about the duels coming up and what that means, because that sets your orders out there as well. So the open teams, if you want to say who they are, Anthony Alfredo, Justin Allgaier stepping up to run and try to qualify for this race from the O'Reilly Series. Corey Heim, Corey LaJoie, BJ McLeod, Casey Mears, who, like I said, had the slowest time out there today. Chandler Smith and J.J. Yealy are basically your open contenders to qualify for this race for these 4 spots coming up as well. So that's what we're looking at there. Single car qualifying, as I said, Wednesday night, 8:15 Eastern, 6:15 our time as well, coming up here later on today. Each driver will run 1 timed lap around Daytona, which Daytona is a 2.5-mile super speedway. High embankments, folks. We're talking, if you walked up it, you're climbing up a hill, right? A mountain to get to the top of them. These cars will run side by side throughout a draft off of each other as they go around this racetrack. You will see 3 wide at times as well. And I think occasionally you get into a 4 wide situation, which makes your heart race a little bit more as well. The top 10 fastest drivers will advance to round 2 because they're fighting for pole position tonight, folks. And you want to just advance to each of the rounds to get that pole position, which, of course, is the starter of the race and the Daytona 500. So you get to the 2 fastest drivers in the final round is what you're going to eventually get to, as just cars get eliminated as it goes on. The 2 fastest drivers in the final round, well, they lock themselves into the front row for the Sunday's Daytona 500. So that's what's important about qualifying tonight. 1, if you're an open team, you can make the race. And 2, you're fighting for that front row to start the Daytona 500 and stay out of the muck that happens behind you coming up as well. So not only that, single car qualifying here tonight, it sets up the lineup for the 2 dual races coming up here tomorrow, Thursday, here at Daytona 500. Drivers who place 1st, 3rd, 5th, etc. in time trials, well, they'll be in dual 1. So they do it basically off of the orders, right? So odds and evens is how I'd like to say it out there. They'll race in dual 1 if you're in odds, and if you're even, 2nd, 4th, 6th, etc., you're finishing in quality time, well, you'll race in dual 2. It's fascinating how they do these races out there. Obviously, open teams, you need to be the top open team to qualify for the rules as well. But the duels do something fascinating here going into this race, and I like how this happens here as well. 260 lap, which is 150 miles. It's a 2.5-mile oval here at Daytona. So there's 2 60-lap races. So obviously dual 1 and dual 2 as well. It actually sets positions 3rd to 40th in the Daytona 500. Your position that you start this race determined by where you finish here coming up in the duel as well. So the finishing order from duel number 1, they're going to make up the inside rows in the Daytona 500. That's why they get the first one, is because first, third, fifth obviously are finishing a little bit faster than the cars behind them, than second, fourth, fifth, sixth, etc. So they'll get the inside row here is where they qualify here in Duel 1, depending on their finishing order. Obviously, Duel 2 goes into, and you get the outside line, depending where you qualify as well for the racing. So that's where the duels come in on Thursday. And, folks, they're competitive races out there as well for 60 laps for that. So the top remaining open car in each duel, not already locked in from the trials, from qualifying tonight. Well, they'll start based on finishing position in the respective duels. So that part. So new for 2026. The two open cars who qualified on speed will also use dual results in their starting position for Daytona 500. It used to be the open cars would just go to the back. Not anymore. You can actually improve your position, starting position, by qualifying good here with the qualifying tonight and then the duels race as well coming up from that side. So there are awarded points that count to the regular season in the duels as well. So you get points leading it. I mean, it's minimal points. But, you can kind of put it up there as well. Like the winner receives 10 points. The winner of the duels, driver of each dual race gets 10 points out there. 9, 8, 7, etc. as you go down the line in the top 10. So it goes to regular season points. I just don't know if that's going to, but you want to get those points, right? Because if you're 16th spot and you need to get in and you have to beat the guy by 5 points who's in 17th, you might need those dual points, right? Get out there as well. So lots of practices this weekend, but those are the competitive things. Qualifying Wednesday night, the duels on Thursday. Then it's just a lot of practices leading up to Friday night's truck race, Saturday's O'Reilly race, and then, of course, the Cup race on Sunday afternoon as well. So this is going to be an exciting, fun weekend. I enjoy the Daytona and what they do leading up to the race. It used to be the Clash was this week, but they moved it, obviously, several years ago. When it was in L.A., they moved it. And I'd like to see him move back to this. I'd like it to be the complete week again than what it was before, mainly because I just lost interest in that Clash race coming up a couple of weeks ago as well. So fun and excitement coming up. So if you're wondering here, ARCA practice is tomorrow, 2 p.m. Phoenix time, 4 p.m. Eastern. The truck practice is at 3 p.m. on Thursday as well, 5 Eastern. That's on FS2. Then you got the duels starting at 5 p.m. Phoenix time, 7 Eastern. The second duel will be 6:45 p.m., 8:45 p.m. Eastern, 6:45 Phoenix time. Both of those will be on FS1 on Thursday. Friday, it's all qualifying, ARCA qualifying early in the morning at 11:30 Phoenix time. Truck qualifying at 1 p.m. O'Reilly practice at 2:30. Cup practice again there at 3:25 p.m. For them. And then you got the truck race on Friday afternoon. As we said, the truck race starts at 5:30 p.m. Phoenix time. 7:30 Eastern time there. Saturday, you get up. O'Reilly qualifying at 8 a.m., which is 10 Eastern. ARCA race there at 10 a.m., noon. That'll be on Fox coming up this weekend. Cup final practice at 1 p.m. or 3 p.m. Eastern, FS1. Then you get the O'Reilly race starting as well. First time we'll see the Riley series there on the track at 5 p.m. Phoenix time for them. Then you got Sunday. Sunday. Nothing happens but the Daytona 500 here coming up on Sunday. 2:30 p.m. Eastern time is when the Daytona 500 gets underway. 12:30 p.m. is when the green flag flies. It's actually a little later than that, but turn your TVs on at that time for this Sunday coming up over in Daytona. Daytona is a super speedway. Guys go around like two wide. They work together here. They draft a lot. You will see big wrecks in this race as well as guys, get into places they probably shouldn't belong. They don't know how to race in those areas. And one car wrecks up. Well, when you're in a big bunch, I think several cars get dinged up as well in this race. I consider these races kind of survivor races, and you never know who's going to win. One of the differences is right, if somebody does win that normally doesn't win, like I'm just going to say Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie survives and wins this race. Well, this year the change is it doesn't mean you qualify for a playoff spot. I know Corey LaJoie is in an open team now and things to that effect, but it doesn't mean you move on. So SVG wins this weekend. Doesn't guarantee the playoff spot coming up here. Takes a little bit of the element out of it, to be honest with you, because you can punch your ticket to the playoff as a lesser quality team or lesser money team by winning. So I do like that aspect. I do not like that aspect out there. I kind of wish they would have kept an element of that. But who's going to win this race this weekend is the big question coming up here. I tell you what, I saw this stat out there: NASCAR Insights, best Daytona 500 finishes for the teams out there. Because you just have to throw a dart to see who wins this weekend out there in all of this series. And Kobe has a graphic here for us: best Daytona 500 finish for NASCAR Cup Series drivers. Denny Hamlin has won this race 3 times. He is a favorite going into this race, mainly because he's won it 3 times. Plus, I told you guys, a lot of sentiment behind Denny Hamlin to start this season with his off-season issues, unfortunate, terrible issues that he had to deal with in the offseason. Just what is powering him going into this season to go out there and win a championship out there. 3 wins for him. William Byron has 2. By the way, won the last 2 as well. Austin Cindric won. Austin Dillon won. Joey Logano there, 1 win. Then you got Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Michael McDowell. Local legend Michael McDowell from Arizona here. 1 win as well here in terms of these drivers. Then you get into these other guys, right? Bubba Wallace finished 2nd 1 year. Big wrecks happened, and he managed to finish 2nd. Ryan Blaney 2nd as well. Kyle Busch, after his dismal season of no wins last year, can Kyle Busch get out there and get a win in the number 8 RCR car this year? Chase Elliott there finished 2nd. Reddick and Alex Bowman, their best finishes are 2nd place in this. Then you got the best finishes in 3rd place here: Allmendinger, Bell, Keselowski, Boucher, Briscoe, Jones. I'm going to be watching Brad Keselowski with his cane, right, and his surgery that he had, the stamina, racing, etc. out there. I'm going to be watching him closely this weekend, starting with qualifying and the duels to see how he can handle being in a car that long moving forward. For best 5th place finish there, Hunter Nemechek there, his best finish has been 5th. Then you got Ty Dillon and Ryan Preece, who won the Clash there, and 6 is their best finish. Look at this, though. Some big names here as we get lower down this list, right? Kyle Larson, his best finish is 7. Same with Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez. Noah Gragson has finished 9th as his best. And then you get into some of these guys here. But Joe Gibbs, if you skip down here, no disrespect to Cole Custer and Riley Herbst and Smith and Ware, but Joe Gibbs Racer, I should say, Ty Gibbs, his best finish here in the Daytona 500, 16th in the Cup Series as well. Josh Berry, 25th is his best finish. Carson Hocevar, who signed a contract extension with his team just a few days ago, 30th place is his best finish. And then, of course, Shane Van Gisbergen, 33rd. He's not good on the ovals. I'll be paying attention to him as well. Has he been working on his oval runs? He's really good at the street races, obviously, and the road courses. Shane Van Gisbergen, has he improved his oval running here over the last year going into this race? So I'll be paying attention to him as well through qualifying and the duels to see what he looks like going into Sunday out there. Obviously, Connor Zilic stepping up into this Cup Series for the first time. No finish for him coming in, but same issue. He got better with the ovals in the Xfinity Series last year, but does he improve going into this with the Cup Series racing is the bigger question here. So you kind of see kind of a crapshoot. Some of the best name guys like Kyle Larson, not a big super speedway guy, Kyle Larson, because you can't just get out in front and run, right? You can't just get out there and let your fast car go. You got to stay with the group, got to get some of that drafting in there, and you got to get into some hairy situations out there on the Daytona track. So I find it fascinating on that. So, folks, we're set up the weekend for you. This is a fantastic way to start the racing season in my eyes. Daytona 500 is a special race. The track is a special race. It's the last race before the playoffs start this year. I like the Daytona 500 better than I like that race. And they're basically the same race. There's something about starting your season with this racetrack, a super speedway, dynamic. It's the visuals of these cars racing side by side. It's the question of who's going to survive the big wreck that happens at some point, 2 or 3 of them, to get to that end there. Whose strategy gets you to that finish line? I love the way this race starts. And it starts, quite frankly, with qualifying here on Wednesday night and then the duels. You have to have strategies into both of those. If you start in the back or in the middle of a pack here, you can get caught up in something in this race. Now, they run at lower horsepowers. They like to save gas in these races, which has taken a little bit of the fun out of this Daytona 500 race because they run at 3/4, half or 3/4 throttle for the first half of the race before they all start jockeying for. And you still have the big wrecks out there. It does take a little bit away from this race, but the visuals, the fun, and it's going to be sold out there in Daytona as well coming up this weekend now. So don't forget, we'll be here at the pit stop, right? There's our debut show. Next week, we'll do a show on Wednesday as well. We'll look back at the Daytona 500. Follow me at the Pit Stop Talk on X. I'll put it out there on my personal page there, SMAC 500, or even the main event. I'll have it retweeted. Give us a follow as well. Be watching the race, obviously, on Sunday. I'm looking so much fun to it, as well as the O'Reilly race on Saturday coming up this weekend. And follow me there. We'll be live tweeting during the race on thoughts and everything. But we'll be back next Wednesday. We'll look back at Daytona, look ahead to a racing coming up here after the Daytona race as well. And the interesting thing here, after Daytona, well, we go to Atlanta there at Echo Park Raceway as well, which is another super speedway, a little different of a super speedway, but get there for Echo Park right after that before the Circuit of the Americas, first road course of the year. So we'll look ahead to the Echo Park race here as well next Wednesday. Then the week after that, we'll get back to our Monday, Thursday setup here, folks. And look, it's going to be a great racing weekend. I'm getting excited for IndyCar to get started here in March and everything. So come and join us. Come along with the ride. I'm Stephen McCollum. We'll see you next time, everyone. Really quick, truck winner, Ty Majeski. O'Reilly winner, I got Jesse Love winning this weekend. He is a favorite, which makes me a little worried. Cup winner, Ryan Blaney is going to win his first Daytona 500 this weekend. Him, Joey Logano, and that whole Penske team going to be right there at the end if they can avoid the muck out there, and I think they will. First win for Ryan Blaney at Daytona this weekend. See you next week, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week.